Hello and welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to show you the smallest folio I've ever made, and as is my usual custom, I've made it out of something recycled. So we have these biscuits, they're sourdough crackers and they're absolutely gorgeous, and it's quite a small box, but I thought I've got the empty box, I would use it. And I do like any packaging that has windows in it, because they're always fun to make something of. So I've made this little folio out of the biscuit box. This is most of this paper has come out of my stash, just scraps, different bits and pieces, and this was some stenciling I did, and then I outlined it with a pen. It was in my scraps. And these flaps are part of the box that I cut when I opened the box up, took it all apart. I cut most of the flaps off, but I left those ones on to form the closure on the front, and that is done with a piece of twine. So these are the flaps that keep the front closed. And the windows, I've put acetate behind them and a couple of little floral images. And these circle bits, I could have cut that off there to make those rectangular, but I thought I'd leave them and just cover them up with some bits and pieces. And I've added a couple of eyelets and some little UV resin charms that I made. And on the back I've got some text and pictures from an antique book that I've got, and again just some bits of ephemera collaged. And I made a full height page tab for that. There's some stamping on it. So open up the flaps, and this is a trifold, so this opens like this, and there isn't really a front or back, but I've called this the front. And I folded over one of the pieces of the box, that it folded over and glued flat to cover up the back of this. I've got a little tag in there. That pocket was made from one of the flaps, and I made this little tag, and this is a piece of the edge of a gel print that I coloured to match this clothing tag, cover up the logo on the tag. And this is an image cut from a greetings card, and I've got more bits of ephemera and things on there, so that forms a pocket there. And that's a little 3D butterfly. You can pull the wings up if you want. These words. This was the edge of a piece of scrapbooking paper that I'd had in my stash for absolutely ages, and I thought I wouldn't ever use it, but I just cut it up so that it fit on here. It's a piece of scrapbooking paper which I've used. It continues onto the insides of the flaps. And I cut some more little bits from the same paper, a contrasting areas so that they showed up. That covers the back of the brad that holds this fixing. It's got a little brad and some discs of card that this wraps around, so that covers up the back of that. And this is some inked paper that I had in my stash. So the third panel of this side forms the back of the folio. And then I was a bit silly when I did this, because I didn't think it through. When I made this closure like that, I'd forgotten that I'd done this instead of doing a trifold kind of like that, I'd done it as a Z, and that it didn't actually close the back. So this was still sort of flapping about. So I've put magnets in there, so that closes that. All right. But it's always the same with these projects that I make, because I make them up as I go along, and I don't always think ahead with all the things that I should think of, which means I have to cover things up because I've forgotten that I was going to put a fixing on there. So when you open it the other way, this magnet keeps that closed. This is a map from a small travel guide that I bought in a charity shop, and I just tea-dyed it because, you know, it was a bit bright and modern looking. And the magnets I covered with paper and cut some little rings to fill up the holes, because these gear wheels that I'd cut out, they were too big, and this little ring covers up the edge of this paper, which is pressed down around the magnet. It didn't look very nice, so I've just embellished that to work like that. This was a label. I had 3 or 4 of these that came with something I ordered recently, and they just fell out of the parcel, and I thought, oh, I won't throw those away, I'll age them, stick them down on something. So I've used one straight away. So that's the, as it were, the back or the inside, but it doesn't really matter really. And because I chose these words, I thought this was sort of like a journey or a travel or something, so that's why I chose to put a map and this destination and admit one, different stamping on there. And that little page tab there, of course, is the edge of this flap that forms the pocket. So I think I can think of anything else to say about that. This tag, it was just plain orange and it had some text front and back which I covered up, but it was just square at the top, so I've used a decorative corner punch to do that, rounded the corners at the bottom, put some more of that twine on, and these are page reinforcers that I got a die for. I cut a whole lot of those. So it's quite an orange sort of theme on that side, it's a bit more muted on the other side. Right, I don't think there's anything else that I need to mention about that. But it is the smallest folio I've ever made. It's quite dinky, isn't it? Oh, I just hung some little wooden beads on the end of there. UV resin. That's a tiny one. It's got a little heart-shaped sequin in it. Right. So that is what you can make out of a biscuit box. Who'd have thought it? Hope you've enjoyed this one. Bye for now.